In the year 1480, deep within the lands of Romania, Prince Vlad lived a seemingly blissful life alongside his beloved wife, Elisabeta. Their bond was so pure and unshakable that Vlad gifted her a precious little music box, a symbol of his eternal love. But their peaceful days were suddenly disrupted when the king's knights stormed in, demanding Vlad's presence on the battlefield. The country had been thrown into war, and danger was closing in fast. Knowing the risks, Vlad ordered his men to escort Elisabeta safely to another castle. Before departing, he sought the blessing of the Pope, asking for divine protection over his cherished wife. Meanwhile, Elisabeta's convoy ventured through a dark and dangerous forest. What none of them knew was that an enemy soldier was lurking high in the trees, waiting like a predator. With deadly precision, he loosed his arrows, taking down 2 guards instantly. The others urged Elisabeta to ride ahead, pushing her horse to safety. Far from there, Vlad devised a brilliant defense. He had barrels of oil smashed across the battlefield and set aflame, creating a blazing wall of fire that trapped the enemy army in place. A brutal clash erupted. Swords clashing, men falling, the battlefield soaked in blood. Yet despite the chaos, Vlad's leadership shone. His army gained the upper hand, striking fear into the enemy. When the dust settled, Vlad stood triumphant before the rival king, his soldiers carrying the heads of their enemies impaled on spears. A gruesome message of victory. But Vlad's triumph was short-lived. He was soon informed of the attack on Elisabeta. Desperate, he rushed into the forest of wolves, a place filled with hidden bear traps beneath the snow. Elisabeta fought bravely to escape, but her horse was caught in a trap, throwing her helplessly into enemy hands. Just as she tried to flee, she too stepped on a trap, her fate sealed. Vlad arrived only to watch tragedy unfold. His own horse was caught as well, forcing him to continue on foot. In a desperate clash, he killed enemy soldiers with unmatched fury, even throwing his sword to save his wife. But fate was cruel. The blade pierced Elisabeta too. Vlad cradled her lifeless body, tears streaming as the love of his life slipped away. Heartbroken, Vlad returned to the Pope, raging against God. Why had his prayers gone unanswered? Why had his devotion and countless killings in God's name not been enough to protect Elisabeta? When the Pope offered no miracle, Vlad's grief turned to wrath. He struck down the Pope with a crucifix, vowing never again to follow God unless Elisabeta was restored. Suddenly, the winds howled, the church statue of Christ wept blood, and Vlad's men dragged him away in terror. Dracula was born. Centuries passed. 400 years later in France, a priest visited a psychiatric clinic on behalf of the Queen of England. Dr. Dumont revealed his most troubling case: Maria, a woman chained in a sealed underground chamber. She had been engaged to the Queen's great-nephew, but on the day of the wedding, the mere sight of a bishop drove her into violent hysteria. Records showed she was born in 1759, yet impossibly, she appeared alive and unaged over 130 years old. The truth soon came out. Maria wasn't human. Her fangs betrayed her. She was a vampire, the first ever captured alive. The priest tested her. Sunlight burned her skin. Crucifixes burst into flames, and even a few drops of blood from Dr. Dumont's assistant Simon awakened her hunger. She finally admitted her master was none other than Prince Vlad, the first vampire, who would soon arrive to reclaim his princess. Meanwhile, Jonathan, a young notary, travelled through a foreboding forest at night to reach Dracula's castle. His terrified coachman abandoned him, warning that wolves would soon emerge. Alone, Jonathan pressed forward, torch in hand, until he entered the looming castle gates. There he met the mysterious Count Dracula himself, an old man with piercing eyes and a dark aura. Jonathan feasted on food while Dracula abstained, instead drinking the blood of a rat he killed with ease. The notary had come to arrange the purchase of an abbey in Paris, but he quickly realized something sinister about his host. When Jonathan's crucifix fell, Dracula angrily cast it into the fire, warning him never to leave his chambers at night. Curiosity got the better of him, though, and Jonathan discovered Dracula's coffin. Caught in his snooping, he was seized by gargoyle-like servants and drained of blood. Before killing him, Dracula revealed his tale of centuries-long torment, of searching for Elisabetta's reincarnation across plagues, wars, and endless centuries. He confessed his loneliness, his despair, and how he turned women like Maria into vampires to aid his search. But everything changed when Dracula saw a picture in Jonathan's locket. Mina, his fiancée. Shock washed over the Count. She was Elisabetta reborn. Overcome with emotion, Dracula spared Jonathan's life, preparing to reunite with the woman he had waited for across lifetimes. Meanwhile, the priest and Dumont realized that Mina might be the reincarnation of Elisabetta, the key to Dracula's obsession. They discovered that killing Dracula could break the curse, turning his vampire brood back into humans. As Mina stepped into their lives, torn between her fiancé and the mysterious pull of Dracula, destiny began to unfold. And so, the timeless story of love, betrayal, and darkness moved forward. The legend of Dracula, the eternal vampire prince, bound forever by love and cursed by his own choices. At the abbey, a ragged wanderer seeks shelter from the nuns. Out of pity, they allow him inside. But the moment he enters the chapel, the disguise drops. It is none other than Dracula. With a sinister smile, he sprays his enchanted perfume upon the figure of Christ. The aroma sweeps through the halls, luring the nuns into the chapel. One by one, they collapse before him, overwhelmed by unnatural desire, forming a desperate mass around the Count. Without hesitation, Dracula feeds, his hunger unrelenting. Meanwhile, at the castle, Jonathan seizes a chance to escape. Using only a blanket, he drags tools closer to break his chains. A gargoyle interrupts, slicing his lifeline, but Jonathan clings to the icy walls and tumbles onto a frozen lake below. When one of the creatures pursues, the ice breaks, dragging it beneath. Jonathan takes his chance to flee, though fear gnaws at every step. Back in Paris, Dracula arrives at the clinic, younger, stronger, almost reborn. His perfume enslaves Simon, guiding him to Maria's chamber. As a reward for her loyalty, Dracula allows Maria to feed. By morning, Simon is no longer human but vampire, his body chained to a bed. The priest, realizing the intruder's description matches Dracula, knows Mina is in grave danger. Mina's fate is sealed when Maria lures her to a hotel, where Dracula waits. Seeing her face, Elisabetta's face, brings the Count to tears. Mina experiences haunting visions, as though memories not her own are awakening within. He gifts her the same music box he once gave his wife. That night at the festival, Dracula follows her like a shadow, through games, feasts, and even the haunted house. At every turn, Mina feels a pull she cannot explain, but the truth comes crashing down. Returning home, Mina finds Jonathan gravely ill. The priest finally tells her the truth. Dracula is a vampire who drinks blood and enslaves with perfume. Shocked, Mina retreats in denial, clutching the music box, only for Dracula himself to appear in her room. She accuses him of trickery, but he swears he's never used the perfume on her. He admits his hunger for blood, but promises she will never be his victim. Mina's visions intensify until she finally surrenders, not as Mina, but as Elisabetta reborn. She embraces Dracula, calling him her love. Their passion ignites, and she begs him for immortality. Reluctantly, Dracula bites her, sealing their bond in blood. The priest senses Dracula's presence and storms the house, but Mina and the Count are gone. Together they return to the castle in Romania. There, amidst falling cannon fire and the roar of gargoyles battling soldiers, Dracula fights with fury unmatched, yet destiny tightens its grip. In the final confrontation, the priest pierces Dracula's heart with a stake. Dying, he collapses into Mina's arms. Their last embrace is tender, their love eternal even in death. As Dracula's body turns to ash, the curse shatters. The gargoyles transform back into innocent children, and silence falls over the ruined castle. Mina weeps over the ashes, while Jonathan, realizing her heart belongs to another, walks away. Dracula's ashes scatter into the wind, a final whisper of love lost to time. And that is the story of Dracula's eternal curse and his undying love for Elisabetta. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another thrilling movie breakdown.